welcome back to the All-American Savage Show podcast. I am your host, John Burke, with my beautiful bearded husband here, Josh. Hey. So if you're just tuning in today, we're only live on Facebook and YouTube. We received a 7-day suspension from Twitch. We had Tommy Vex on the podcast yesterday. It was a very, very good podcast. We had a lot of fun, a lot of jokes. Yeah. And so some language was used in that podcast, which, again, I don't care what somebody says. I do believe in free speech. But when it comes to a platform's terms of services, then we do have to adhere to it to an extent, and we clearly violated it. And, you know, I should have warned Tommy. It is what it is. No hate. They gave us a 7-day suspension. I appealed it. Twitch came back and said, nope, it's going to stay into effect. So for the next 7 days, we are banned on Twitch. But after that, we'll be back. So in the meantime, you can catch the show live over on my Facebook page and my 2 YouTube channels. I'm streaming it to my main John Ross page and my backup All-American Savage Show podcast YouTube channel as well. So you can get them there live. And then afterwards, within 2 hours, we upload the podcast audio to Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud, where you can find the podcast there. It seems like no matter how much I advertise this, I still get fucking DMs from people like, well, I couldn't find your podcast on Twitch. Where else is it? It's like, do you even listen to the fucking podcast? Like, I tell you. I literally tell you where to find the goddamn thing. Or I'll post it and I'll put it in the caption. And I'll get a comment, hey, bro, where's it at? It's like, did you read the caption, dipshit? Like, did you fucking read? Did you fucking read? It's going to be one of those days. It's going to be one of no. It's like dealing with privates again. It's like, I got a question, drill sergeant. Where do we go, Pope? Like, private. I just told you where the fucking bathroom was. Like, listen, you dip fuck. But, and so I don't hate Twitch. Like, please don't get me wrong. I do not hate Twitch. They've actually been the only platform that has been good to us. They've never banned us for anything, for like, you know, I respect the decision. I actually agree with their decision. I was hoping they'd show a little bit of clemency, but apparently not. You know, Tommy's out there dropping N-bomb. I think probably the moderators are kind of confused. Like, wait a minute, a black dude just dropped an N with a hard R. Is that racist? I don't even know. I know. Like, can we go after if it's a black dude? Like, is that oppression? Like, I can't figure that one out. So, yeah, but it is what it is. So 7 days we'll be back on Twitch. But again, a lot of thanks. Thank you for sharing the podcast, by the way, on Instagram. People sharing it to their stories and tagging me. I do my best to respond and share it back. Thank you for that. That helps the podcast grow more than you realize. So a big thank you to that. But all right, thank you for tuning in today, wherever you're listening from. If you're at home with the kids, you're on your way to work, you're deployed overseas, or if you're in Florida vacationing without a mask, even though you've been sitting there hammering your freaking desk on CNN saying that you should be wearing a mask, and we'll get into that very soon. But let's get started with this day in history. That's right, folks. This day in history, the entrance to King Tut.
I love this story. It's my favorite.
And the show is over.
Thanks, folks.
This day in history, the entrance to King Tut's tomb has been discovered. British archaeologist Howard Carter and his workmen discovered a step leading to the tomb of King Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings of Egypt on November 4th of 1922. When Carter first arrived in Egypt in 1891, most of the ancient Egyptian tombs had been discovered, though the little-known King Tutankhamun, who died when he was 18, was still unaccounted for. After World War I, Carter began an investigative search for King Tut's tomb, finally finding steps to the burial room hidden in the debris near the entrance of the nearby tomb of King Ramses in the Valley of Kings on November 26, 1922. Carter and fellow archaeologist Lord Carnarvon, excuse me, that would have been a cool name to have, Lord Carnarvon. Like, that would have been. That'd be a great porn name. We'll go with that. Lord Carnarvon entered into the interior chambers of the tomb, finding them miraculously intact. Thus began a monumental evacuation process in which Carter carefully explored the 4-room tomb over several years, uncovering an incredible collection of several thousand objects. The most splendid architectural find was a stone sarcophagus containing 3 coffins nested within each other. And inside the final coffin, which was made out of solid gold, was the mummy of the boy king Tutankhamun, preserved for more than 3,000 years. Most of these treasures are now housed in the Cairo Museum. And we are going to be giving away a free, all-expense-paid trip to Egypt to one lucky... No, we're not. We're totally not. Got your hopes up, though, didn't I? We have to make way more money than this, so, but no.
Just call 1-800. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is, yeah. That's really cool though. This day in history. So, yeah. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. The title of this podcast is The NFL Slave Trade and Boomer Republicans That Are Worse Than Liberals. And we're going to get into it. But first, You know this guy. You know the douchebag. His name is Don Lemon. He is the black homosexual news anchor on CNN that loves spouting off about like all these vaccine mandates, God King freaking Biden, how bad Trump is. And the biggest things that I hate about this piece of shit human being is that he basically said time and time again that if you voted for Trump, if you refuse the vaccine, you should face consequences. And those consequences should consist of not being able to go to the supermarket to get food for your family. He's saying this to mothers and fathers, like saying, hey, if you don't get the vaccine, you should not be allowed to feed your children. That's what he's saying. That's why if somebody walked up and put a bullet in this douchebag's head, I wouldn't fucking care. Because he would rather see you starve. He would rather see you and your family and your children starve unless you get a vaccine. That ain't freedom, bro. That ain't freedom. The very same guy who's a homosexual, who believes in gay rights and marriage, you suddenly turn tables when you think your safety is jeopardized. This guy is a pawn. And the reason why I'm going to prove that Don Lemon is a shyster, he's a charlatan, he's a piece of shit.
Hypocrite.
He's a very big hypocrite. This is coming to us from the Washington Examiner. CNN host Don Lemon was spotted on a trip enjoying the Florida weather. And don't forget, Don Lemon has... what's a good term? He has just crucified Florida. He has gone after Florida and Texas hardcore. Yeah. Like on his show. My question is, why are you vacationing in Florida if it's such a bad spot? If you don't like Florida that much, why are you there? That's my big question.
Because you don't have to wear a mask.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because let's continue on with the story. Odd thing, Josh. Very odd thing. Don Lemon was spotted on a trip enjoying the Florida weather maskless after repeatedly chastising Republicans such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for putting lives at risk because of their opposition to mask mandates. Lemon was relaxing by a pool Sunday, soaking in the Florida sun, when a woman confronted him and thanked the maskless host for exposing everything, according to the footage of the encounter posted to social media. So here, you can actually see it right here. I'm going to play it for you. And Don Lemon gets caught red-handed, out in public without a mask.
I want to thank you.
He's like a big marketing guy.
I want to thank you. Don Lemon, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's Halloween today, right? Don Lemon. That's okay.
And you see that he's clearly picking up his newspapers and he's going away.
No, thank you so much.
Look, no mask. No mask near. He has no mask. Nothing. And as he walks away, look at that. Oh, he's around other people. Still no mask.
Thank you for
And there he goes, walking off like the little coward bitch he is. Look, and he still refuses to put a mask on. So the whole people saying that, oh my God, he had...
Wait. You know, is he going inside?
Yep.
Is he going indoors?
Yep, no mask. No mask. Look at that.
Son of a bitch.
Look at that. Oh my, how the elites fall when you catch them in their lies. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this only goes to show, and you can watch the footage. It'll be on the iTunes, or it'll be on the YouTube page and Facebook. You clearly see Don Lemon not even carrying a mask. So when he stands up to go back inside, there is still no mask on. So the very same hypocrite that has sat there and beat his desk and finger pointed and browbeat you and clutched his pearls when people come back at him differently, he himself does not listen to his own propaganda this puppet spews. He is a paid protagonist. That's all this guy is. He is a piece of shit charlatan. Liberals, if you still listen to these types, you deserve everything you get. Because you're that fucking stupid. You cannot sit there and tell me your God King blue checkmark verified motherfuckers on social media that sit there and lambast the other side about not wearing masks and being pro-vaccine freedom to choose, and yet they themselves don't adhere to the same tactics, don't adhere to the same rules they demand that you should adhere to. Why the fuck do you continue to listen to these hypocrites? Why? I do not understand your train of thought. Or is it because that you are so bent on a narrative that you are willing to turn a blind eye and put the horse blinders on because Biden himself has done this and you say nothing? Where are those going after and crucifying them? And don't forget, January 4th, and we're getting to this, OSHA is now coming in to enforce Biden's max vaccine policies to where they're going to fine businesses over 100 people $14,000 for each infraction. OSHA, just like the FDA, should be abolished. Yep. Go fuck themselves. Private or big businesses, don't pay them. Nope. Fuck them. Be like, you want to come in my door? Go get a fucking warrant. Yep. Absolutely not. Fuck OSHA and fuck the government. So do not sit there and tell me that these fucking mouthpieces on CNN, and even Fox for that matter, that say that you should do this, get the vaccine, wear your mask, social distance, and then they themselves don't. Why do you tolerate it? Why do you still comply? That's beyond me. It doesn't matter. You do not have to get a vaccine. I don't give a fuck what a business tells you. I don't give a fuck what this piece of shit president says or this fucking cocksucker Don Lemon. I don't care what they say. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. So don't ever feel like with all the pressures coming from social media and Biden and this administration that you have to buckle and bend the knee and get the vaccine. Now, if you want to get the vaccine, then get the vaccine. Do what you want to do. But if you don't have to. Fuck them. There's a change coming. There is a change coming. Watch. More celebrities are coming out. And I hate saying the fucking celebrity thing because I'm not a celebrity worshiper. But right now, celebrities have the most sway in this world. So when you get more celebrities, yeah, they actually kind of do. I hate to admit it. I fucking hate it. And we're going to talk about how that's actually coming to play with Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, they do. They absolutely. You look at people like Alyssa Milano and Colin Kaepernick. They've riled up entire voter bases based upon the rhetoric they spew.
Have they?
Absolutely, they
I don't
have.
know. I don't
Colin
know that I'm
Kaepernick
100% on
fucking.
with that.
Oh, absolutely, he does. You look at Tucker Carlson. I mean, let's flip the script on this one. Even somebody on the right, they still have, these videos that go viral. They sway people's opinions. They change people's minds, or they get them mad. They get them riled up. Or they get
I don't think it's the masses. I think obviously they're going to sway some small percentage of people, but I don't think it's like a,
Well, I'm not saying like a big group. I'm talking about they do have sway though. But when you have
for some,
and I think with a lot of Democrats, when you had like Nicki Minaj come out, and then you had Dave Chappelle come out, and all these people, it's waking people up to say, "Oh my God, wait, a black celebrity." That and people would think like Nicki Minaj are probably on the left, but I don't think she is. I think, and you have people like Cardi B who campaign for Biden, and they just say, "I won't pay no taxes."
Yeah, maybe a small amount of people.
It's like, do you not know how taxes work? Like you sit there, you're campaigning for a guy who is literally your enemy, who wants to raise taxes on you. He wants you to pay more.
Yeah.
So Cardi B running for that is like, the mouse handing the cheese to the cat to put in the mousetrap. Like, it makes no fucking sense. Like, you are literally campaigning for the guy that wants you to pay more and take more of your money and penalize you for being successful. Do your part. But Cardi B is too fucking... I mean, she makes music for people that fucking shoplift at Dollar Tree. I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Like, her music is garbage. She's another fucking mental peasant in my mind. I can't stand listening to her shit.
Yeah, I don't know what song she sings.
I dated one girl that listened to WAP, and she turned it on for me, and I'm just kind of like... Okay, it's catchy. I'll give you that. Like, this is the music.
Can you sing a little bit for us?
There's some hoes in this house. Don't get me wrong. I do like rap music to an extent. I love NF. I even like Eminem's old shit. But Cardi B is just one of these people that when she opens her mouth, it's like, oh, dear God, please stop talking. Stop talking, you fucking ignorant fuck. Jesus Christ. But people look up to this. They look up to these figures. And they respect their opinions. Why? I don't know. But it's like the stupid leading the stupid. But guess what? The stupid can vote. So if they come out and they're like the stupid are kind of coming to your side, like, hey, come on, stupid people. We'll take you. Just vote the right way. Yeah. Outside of that, I don't want to listen to what you have to say because you're too fucking stupid. But that's why people don't. I can't listen to her music. I just can't. Like, Nicki Minaj has skill. I think she's got a beautiful voice as well. She's said a lot of stupid shit as well. It's just kind of like, no, I don't listen to her. But when she comes out as far as like the whole vaccine thing, is like, this is proving a really good point that if you are a black Democrat or they perceive you as such and you go counter to the leftist narrative, doesn't matter if you're black anymore. They're going to crucify you too.
Yeah.
They're going to freaking pin you to the goddamn wall.
Yeah, I agree.
So Don Lemon has now been exposed as being a fraud. I'm going to be posting this on my social medias left and right. I hope it goes viral. People are starting to see this. Just broke, I think, yesterday, the day before. November 1st, 2021 is when this was posted. Excuse me. So Don Lemon is a shyster, a fucking charlatan, another coward, hiding behind his post at CNN. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, he said, if you don't get the vaccine or if you voted for Trump, you should face consequences of your actions. All right, Donnie boy, what's going to happen to this piece of shit? Anything? He literally says one thing and does another, just like Joe Biden.
Yeah, how many people do you think he killed walking around with that mask on?
Millions.
Murderer. Son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
Walking around without that mask.
All right. So Josh and I had a discussion about this a little bit earlier. I talked about this on my Instagram stories a lot last night. I want to get into this because I am so sick and tired. And I'm going to lose a lot of people on this one. So I ask that you give pause before you pass judgment on what I'm about to say. You have Senator, who is it, Josh Hawley? Yeah, Josh Hawley is basically, he starts off right and then he just goes way off the fucking the tracks here. He talks about how essentially the attacks on masculinity from the liberal left are degrading to men. I agree with that. Yes, it is degrading to sit there and say being an alpha is wrong. I agree with that. And we've discussed this many times when I talked about, like, there is such thing as toxic masculinity. It does exist, but not in the context of which liberals define it as. And I think liberals go way too far. There is a clear definition of what an alpha, sigma, beta, all of this stuff comes into play. And I think people that put so much faith and root into this stuff are actually themselves betas. Like, nobody fucking cares. To sit there and wake up every day, like, okay, how can I be an alpha today? It's like, you just fucking do it. Like, who cares? Do what makes you happy. Be secure in that.
Yeah.
But people they put so much weight in being a Chad or like, who fucking, like, if you care so much about that, it just means that you're insecure about who you are. You're not confident in who you are as an individual. You just be what you are. And if you want to be more tough, more man, then be it. Go do it. But people feel like they have to live up to this name just simply to fit in and be cool. It's like that's actually the exact opposite of being an alpha. But where liberals came in was saying like toxic masculinity is a bad thing. Like men being men, mansplaining. It's like, no, that's just personality quirks, and women do it too. So to sit there and say that that's toxic masculinity is a lie. But I think where I agree that toxic masculinity exists in, and I talked about this with Tommy and other people, is that when you have someone going through a hard time, instead of, actually offering to help them, especially in the veteran community, to go get help and things such as that, telling them, man up, stop being a pussy, deal with your shit like a man, that's toxic masculinity, because that's not fixing the issue.
Yeah.
Like to say man up and that kind of, don't get me wrong, there are times when you do have to man up. Like, oh, it's cold outside. Man the fuck up. There's no other way around.
You
got to
deal
man
up. It's cold outside. You got to take the dog out.
You got to take the dog out.
Dog's got to take a piss. You got to take him out.
Go piss with the dog. Be a man.
Yeah.
No, but I think toxic masculinity,
Personal experience for me last night.
Oh, really?
Super cold.
Yeah. I mean, hey, don't put anything out that you don't want to, that you want to bring back in. So just be careful with that when you're out in those cold temperatures here in Texas. Like we're on the verge of like eating each other because I think last night was in like the 40s or 50s.
Oh, it was cold.
It was cold. But the other thing is like toxic masculinity, like using these examples that don't help a person fix their problem. There are some problems that you just got to face head on. You got to grab your big boy panties and put them on and go do what you got to do. But there are certain things to where the answer to said problem is going and seeking psychological help, which in the past has been demonized as being, oh, you got to go talk to a therapist. You're a pussy. It's like, that's actually stupid, because and what people don't realize is like when you talk to a therapist, it's no different than talking to a friend. It's just that the therapist knows what they're talking. Well, I would assume for the most part knows what they're talking about as far as how to deal with your issues or how to ask the right questions that maybe your friend doesn't. But it's still the act of talking and getting it off your chest and getting it out of your mind and getting some good feedback from somebody that's trained in that. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with going to I go to a therapist, and it's wonderful because it's not necessarily one of these things like I'm in there moaning and crying about my problems. Instead, it's working to identify problems in my mind or emotionally or anything, and then identifying solutions to fix said problem, ultimately making me a more emotionally stable and stronger person and human being versus just manning the fuck up. That doesn't identify the problem, that doesn't fix the problem, and things like that. And so in the veteran community for the longest time, it was like, hey, Sarn, I'm going through some hard times. Hey, stop being a fucking bitch, private. It's like, and the problem with that though is you have some people that abuse it. They'll try and say, I'm going through some hard times. Like, okay, what's going on? It's like, I'm just really cold. Okay, now you got to man the fuck up. There's no other way around that, bitch. Like, just stop being a fucking bitch like that. Versus somebody's actually having some good, I shouldn't say good, some psychological issues that they need help getting through. Therein lies the difference. So I don't like using a broad brush to paint all of it. You do have abusers within the system. Now, with that being said, that's where liberals started out attacking toxic masculinity. But it went way off the rails to where you can't sit with your legs open because it displays your balls, even though they're not being seen. And they talk about, don't mansplain to me. Men are no different than women. It's like, yes, we are. We're more stronger. We have a penis. And liberals are like, no, you don't. Now we have birth people and chest feeding, and you fucking weirdos should be just crazy motherfuckers. So that's where it started, and that's the way it went. So naturally, this senator is saying that these attacks on masculinity that the left has launched have driven more men to play video games and watch pornography. No, it hasn't. Number one, show me the study where that's true. Now, if he's making an opinion, that's fine. But as a senator, is this really what you're worried about? Like, you really could have taken this down a good road, but instead, you chose to use video games and porn as your scapegoat. Well, then the same context could be applied. Now, listen to what I'm about to tell you. When somebody's saying, like, to me, video games and porn, there's so much to unpack on this one. Video games and porn. I play video games and I watch porn. And we run a very successful company. I take Delta 8 at night, which is equivalent to taking Delta 9, which is found in cannabis, that equates to smoking weed. Michael Savage says if you smoke weed, you're a lazy bum. That's not true. These ideas are founded in boomer ideologies that are so fucking antiquated. We talk about breaking stereotypes in the veteran community, about going out and getting help. We talk about breaking stereotypes in racial communities, breaking stereotypes in sexes and things such as that. We need to start breaking the stereotype that smoking weed inherently makes you stupid or makes you lazy. Now, when I smoke weed, I actually clean my house. Or I shouldn't say, when I take it, I clean my house. I do what I got to do. It actually helps me and it makes me feel good. In no way does it make me lazy, but the overconsumption of any individual product can have side effects that result in a negative thing, such as, do we blame the spoon or blame the ice cream for making us fat? No.
I mean, you could take a bottle of aspirin and kill yourself.
100%.
So,
and this is the problem that I have, that when the senator goes out there and he tries to say that the attacks have driven men to go become more lazy towards video games and watch pornography, playing video games or watching pornography in and of itself does not make you lazy. That's ridiculous. What this is showcasing to me is that instead of putting blame on the individual, we're putting blame on the objects, and that is wrong. That's where he is going wrong, and that's where, when I posted this on my Instagram last night, conservatives get it wrong. You are no different than fucking liberals in this context, and you're not going to like me for this, but I really don't fucking care. You sit there and we say, when an active shooter occurs, the first things that the press tries to cover is the sex, the race, and the political affiliation. That's the big three they go after. But what does the left do? You blame the gun. They blame the gun. We should ban AR-15s, ban shotguns after college. It's the guns. If they didn't have the guns, they'd have no way to kill people. That is not true. Look at England with the stabbings and the acid. Stop with this bullshit. So Republicans in this content, I'm not saying all Republicans, I'm talking about this guy right here and those that agree with him, you are sitting there feeding down the same psychological narrative that they believe in, blaming the actual objects versus the individual. So if I attack Josh and say, you're too manly, stop being so fucking manly, blah, blah, blah.
Impossible.
And Josh turns around and goes to play video games, that was Josh's choice. That is not the video game's fault. That is not pornography's fault. That is Josh. Ultimately, and this is the problem, if I am a bully and I'm bullying Josh and it results in him going and doing that, how do I fix that? Well, you can't stop bullying. It would always exist. Josh needs to make himself bully-proof. Start getting some thick skin, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and stop bending the knee when somebody insults you. That's a part of life. And that's why when they pulled out hazing from the military got really fucking soft. These are the after effects. This is what happens. So for those that don't like hearing that, tough shit. I really don't care. That's my beliefs on that. And then these boomer Republicans are like, well, pornography is morally wrong. And every single time they bring this up, it always goes down the... And I'm not talking about Josh here or Senator Hawley. I'm talking about many times I've heard Republicans say this. When it's something that they object to from a theological standpoint, they want it banned. Which makes you no different than ISIS and no different than liberals. You are the exact same. At least ISIS has the balls to get violent about their religious beliefs. Christians don't, which they shouldn't. And that's why I respect a lot of people that are Christians. But the fact is, if you sit there as a Republican and say, there is something that I don't like, pornography, drugs, whatever, therefore, according to my religious principles, it should be banned, you are no different than a theocrat. You are no fucking different. You're actually not for pro-liberty. You're not for pro-freedom. You're, in fact, the exact opposite, and therefore the enemy of liberty, and that's why you're worse than fucking liberals, because you sit there and you espouse all this, oh, yeah, small government, but, well, no, the government should have the right to ban it if I don't agree with it or religiously. You're either for freedom or not. You don't get to cherry pick what you like and you don't like. And then we have the conversation that I've had so many of these conversations and debates. Like, you're not going to win. You're not going to win against me on this one. Well, according to research and studies, pornography has a very negative effect on the mind, and it leads to marital problems. So we should ban it. You've heard this, right? Okay. Well, here's my counter to you. Now do drugs and alcohol. Ooh. Y'all got quiet out there in the internet world, didn't you? What about McDonald's? What about the leading killer of Americans, which is heart disease? Attributed to poor eating habits. Do we now ban fatty foods that are not good for you? You see, all of your arguments are rooted in just straight ignorance. It's rooted in religious principle and this idea that the world should revolve around what you religiously believe in, and that is wrong. It's basically in complete denial of the First Amendment. That's why I'm for the separation of church and state. It's freedom of religion and freedom from religion. You should not have anybody's religious convictions forced upon you legislatively, which then leads down the road or the rabbit hole of, okay, well then, what are our laws founded upon? People talk about that we are a Christian nation. No, we're not. We're not a Christian. We were founded by Christians, don't get me wrong, Puritans, things such as that. But to sit there and say that this nation, by and large, is a Christian nation is actually incorrect. And it's not that I'm saying that I'm against Christians. I actually believe in God and I believe in Christ. But what I am saying, though, is how can you call it a Christian nation and then say that you have the freedom to worship as you see fit in this country? Religion needs to be separated from state, because the other thing that people don't seem to understand is what if we had 10 more, what if we had the majority of Ilhan Omars in Congress? What if Muslims started becoming the predominant people in Congress, to where now, if we're a religious nation and we can pass legislation based upon religious or theological principle, Ilhan and Rashida Tlaib and all these douchebags come in there and suddenly start saying, you know what, we're going to start passing laws based in Islam. Well, then Christians suddenly have a problem with that because they don't want to have to adhere to Islamic-based religious doctrine. So which is it? Which is it to me then? Because a lot of you Christians out there are hypocrites in this aspect. And I'm not attacking you. I'm not saying that you should not be allowed to worship. I'm actually saying the exact opposite. The separation of church and state is what protects you to worship as you see fit. There should not be a one blanket over this entire nation saying we are a Christian nation, we're a Catholic nation, we're an Islamic nation. Because what if the majority becomes Islamic? Then we're an Islamic nation, or we are a free nation to do as you see fit. But I will retract a little bit and talk about, okay, well, then what are these laws that we have currently founded in? And that's a very good question. A lot of it is founded in Christian doctrine. But a lot of the stuff needs to be pulled out in a sense of, like in Texas, we talk about the blue line law, to where you can't go purchase vodka on a Sunday, which is rooted in religion, because they said back in the day, you should be in church on a Sunday and not drinking. Well, what gives you the right to tell me what I should do on a Sunday? What gives you the right to tell me that I should even go to church on a Sunday or respect Sunday as the Sabbath? You do not have that right to dictate that to me. It is my freedom to choose. Therefore, why can I not buy that vodka on a Sunday if I want to get toasted before going to work on Monday? Why? This is what I'm talking about. And people don't have enough foresight to understand that when you go down this road, it is such a slippery slope, because the end result usually comes from somebody saying, I want to ban it. It needs to be banned. And that's where the issue lies with me. So it starts off with this Senator Hawley saying, you know, it's pushing people more towards video games and pornography. And it paints that as if those things themselves are bad things for you. Everything comes with moderation. Video games are not inherently bad. Pornography, you could probably say by and large, is probably bad. I will give you that. But it is not for you to make the moral decision on what somebody chooses or chooses not to do. Yeah. That's where I stand.
I would say pornography is probably the harsher of the two, just because, you know,
but that's
there's
there's
a lot of moving parts in there. I don't think
no pun intended.
Get to it, man. I just think it changes your brain waves to like how you think and stuff like that. So
yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it changes your expectation of sex. Don't get me wrong, absolutely. But then there's pornography that's been used.
I mean, we talked about it, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, if you want to watch pornography, that's fine.
I agree.
But again,
if you don't want, that's perfect. Yeah. It's your freedom to choose is ultimately the baseline of my argument. Is you should have the right to choose what you want to do. And then a lot of people that take our products like Delta 8, it's like, well, according to the freaking FDA and things such as that, or like the government, like the Delta 8 is bad because they don't like it, therefore ban it. Like, no, because it's done wonderful things for veterans especially. So this episode is brought to you by Shell Select the video. But it's still the premise of you should have the freedom to choose what the fuck you want to do. Don't let the government come in there and dictate to you what you can and cannot do.
I don't think there should be any regulation. There shouldn't be an FDA and
OSHA and fuck them all, ban them all. Get rid of them.
I think people are smart enough and capable enough to put a product together for the most part.
Yeah,
that'll be safe.
Yeah.
You know, that for consumers to.
But let them choose.
Yeah, but we just we talked about this before coming on here that. If you went to the store and you saw two products, basically the same thing, one with ingredients, where it's from, all this stuff on it, and the other one was just, said chicken on it.
Yeah.
You're going to take the one with the most information on it.
Exactly. And if that information is incorrect, you can sue them.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I mean, we don't need the government to come in and take more money from us to tell us how to run business, because they don't know how to run business.
Yeah.
They had $4 trillion this year that they took in and overspent $2 trillion.
Yeah.
So they don't know what they're doing. It's a totally corrupt system.
Or you have stupid comments like this in the chat that says, porn definitely rewired your brain and programs you to accept cuckoldry. I watch porn. That's not true. What are you talking about? You see, you're making very generic, stupid the stupid comments of things that you know nothing about. Like, this is what conservatives do. If you do this, if you smoke weed, it's going to lead to you fucking smoking crack, because I think it. No, it doesn't. Like, how do you know? But even still, say like it does, it's still their freedom to choose. But based upon your moral principles, you feel like they shouldn't have access to that because you think it's the greater good for them. What gives you the right to make that decision? Again, you're just as different. You're just the same as liberals. You want to ban hate speech. Speech is free. You should be able to say whatever the fuck you want. So a lot of you Republicans out there that I'm not saying all, but those that agree with banning these things because they're bad according to your moral principle, you are the same as liberals. You are the same as ISIS. They want that shit banned based on a theological idea saying it's against our religion. You shouldn't be able to do that. Can you imagine living in a country where they said, hey, by the way, you know who else bans shit? You know who like moderates video games? China. Communist China says that there's certain times that you can and cannot play video games. Yeah, they regulate that for their people. Can you imagine living in a society where they regulate things to that level?
How easy is it to see pornography nowadays?
Oh, absolutely easy.
Yeah, it's super easy. Mm-hmm. So my biggest concern with that is just children being able to have access to it.
But that falls on the parents.
The parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a parent, with technology the way it is, you really got to keep an eye on what
absolutely.
your kids.
It requires you to be an active parent. Yes, 100%.
Like making sure they're not watching YouTube all the time. And,
absolutely. Which YouTube, which we've used many times, has been a wonderful platform to research things. So, YouTube in and of itself is just there. What you use it for is upon you, the user. Therefore, if you use it for something negative, you're at fault. It's there. There's a lot of bad things in this world. Stores sell components that you can make poison from and ultimately poison yourself if you want. You're not doing it, but the option is there. Ultimately, the baseline of this is you have the freedom to choose. You should always have the freedom to choose. Now, where I can agree with the Republicans that talk about, I don't like pornography, and you want to come out against it, I respect that. I understand that. But calling to ban it is where I disagree with you. You can sit there and say, it should be allowed, but we can speak out against it. I 100% agree with that. But the banning stuff does not work. And then it led to another discussion with the fucking Zoomer. I detest Zoomers. Like, they're the stupidest generation so far because social media gave you a voice when you should be shutting the fuck up and listen. But one Zoomer talks about pornography is directly linked to sex trafficking and rape. Yes, it is 100%. But now let's look at the opposite effect. You make it illegal and you ban it. What does that do? That spikes the fucking numbers. It's going to do the exact opposite of what you think it will, because case in point, prohibition back in the early 1900s. The government stepped in, and this is founded in religion as well, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and the women's rights movement saying, men are lazy when they drink too much, blah, 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 blah. Then the government comes in, and this is also when we have a constitution saying, the government says you will not be allowed to have alcohol anymore. Now think on that. And what happened? Many of you don't know history. You don't know what happened when the government steps in and tries to regulate for the better good of the people. The government should not serve in the role of looking out for your best interest when it comes to your personal safety. That is on you. That is 100% on you. And if you disagree with that, you are leaning more into a socialistic mindset where the government is daddy babysitter. And when that happens, they have complete autonomous control. Case in point, what's going on with Biden right now and the vaccine mandates. Oh, daddy, regulate me harder, daddy. But I want to go back to the prohibition thing. So as a result of banning alcohol, what happened? Can anybody in chat tell me what happened? Speakeasies blew up everywhere. People started making unsafe alcohol in their bathtubs. The spike in deaths as related to alcohol definitely surged because people were drinking shit they had no idea what it was, and they were killing themselves over it. It got worse. Now, when they made it legal and they could moderately regulate it to an extent, it got better. But the base of what I'm saying, though, is in this little ball of fuck, this little issue. My hands are forming a ball right now if you're listening. In this scenario that we have, you've got to remove it from your mind that there is a full negative outcome or a full positive outcome. It doesn't work that way. There's a little bit of both. You just have to go for the best of the both evils. There is no way to prevent deaths from occurring at the hands of alcohol. or from guns. There is no way to prevent fully bad things from happening when it comes to the porn industry. It's impossible. It will always happen because human nature works that way. So the best course of action to take is to minimize the statistics in which the negative things occur. And the best way to do that is to legalize it and then regulate it. Not regulate it to the point where it's like regulated very heavily by the government, but set forth laws and proceedings that essentially make it 10 times safer. Case in point again, we talk about the border right now with the drug cartels at the border. Like, who do you think has the best opportunity to get drugs across the border? You think it's the little guy? No, it's the big cartels that are protected. Not protected, excuse me. They have the money and the wealth to do it. If the government legalized it, you strip them of all their power. Now, that black market turns into a free market. And now you're going to have a quality of drug, and now you have a cheaper drug. But John, drugs are bad. Fair enough. Don't take them. It's just that simple. Well, then we go into the argument of rehabilitation, those that become addicts. And yes, that is an issue, but it also comes with the secondary tertiary effects, the government stepping in and saying, okay, we're going to essentially pull a lot of the funding for these rehab clinics, because if you provide a safety net, you've now incentivized them to go out and try it, because they say, hey, it's just like with border crossings. If you come over here and you have a child and that child's born in America, now it becomes a legalized citizen. You've incentivized them to do it. You've got to remove that incentivization, and that's got to hurt a lot of feelers, but that's the way it's got to be. To the point where, we talk about communities getting involved. That's where I'm at. Like, let the communities dictate if they want to set up like a rehabilitation center or anything like that. Yeah. And also look at prison and incarceration rates as a result of drugs, and especially like marijuana related. Marijuana is not a harmful drug. It's not.
Nope.
Josh smokes weed all the fucking time. He's not out there running over children and fucking raping puppies. That's not what he does.
I don't know about all the time. I mean,
oh, you do rape? You rape puppies on occasion? Is that what you do?
What? It took a weird turn. I'm more of a Delta 8 fan now.
Yeah, same.
Because when I go home at night, you want to relax.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kids in bed, everything like that,
Yeah.
Pop a Delta 8.
Feel
relax,
good. Sleep.
Take a shower. Yeah.
So
get a great night's
to
sleep.
Circle back on all of this, I don't like the idea of banning something based upon your moral principles that is rooted in your theological beliefs. Church and state should be separate, in my opinion. Coming in, bringing it together, all you get from that is what Henry did with the Church of England. He pulled from the Pope. He said, we're going to establish our own church. And then people are like, fuck this. They're getting burned and crucified. Instead, it should just be worship as you want and don't force religious doctrine on other people. That's the whole premise of the First Amendment. Our forefathers didn't want it, all this stuff. And many of our forefathers, some of them were even atheists. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know, deists as well. Mm-hmm. Thomas Paine, people called him a propagandist, was an atheist as well. I think some even said that Thomas Jefferson might have been. But the point still stands. They still understood the government should not be able to come in and regulate the churches. It should not be.
Wrote a hell of a constitution.
A hell of a constitution. I love that. I love that thing. So you can agree and disagree. That's perfectly fine. But that's where I stand. I don't like the idea of banning it. That's where I'm more of a libertarian. I want a free market. And I love how Rand Paul talked about. He did a town hall speech. And he said he believed that crack should be legalized. Yep. And people are like, what? He's like, no. Show of hands. You know what crack is. If it's legalized tomorrow, are you going to go smoke it? Not a single hand went up.
Yeah.
Why? Because you know what it does, but you should still have the freedom to choose. So, well, crack is bad. Well, then what is alcohol? Alcohol is literally taking poison into your body that your liver has to process, and it hurts your liver, and it inebriates you. And if you're not exercising, guess what it gets stored at? It gets broken down into sugars and stored in fat. It makes you fat, hence the beer guts and shit like that. So you can say, like, is something inherently bad, or is it like certain levels of bad that we want to say whether or not we regulate it or make it illegal? Bad is bad, good is good. There is no other way to cut that. Well, then, if your argument is saying that there's certain levels of bad, if it hits a certain level of bad, it should be banned, well, then why is marijuana bad? How many deaths do we have right now as results of marijuana-related incidents?
Yeah, I can't think of anybody who's ever OD'd on smoking pot. At most, you're going to get super duper high and probably pass out watching Lord of the Rings
or Simpsons. Yeah. Oh man, that's me. Lord of the Rings. That's me right there, baby.
I could just watch it over and over again.
Pornography leads you to like endorsing cuckoldry, being a cuck. Really? You can make any kind of stupid statement. Pornography makes you want to freaking sexualize children. That is not true at all. These are ignorant statements made by ignorant people that don't know what they're fucking talking about. They don't know what they're talking about, and they try and use that as their premise to argue and say, oh, well, if I don't like it, it leads to these things. Mainly, like that one comment that fucking idiot in the chat talked about, like porn leads to cuckoldry. I think you're projecting something there. I really do. I think you're projecting an insecurity you've got inside, or maybe an experience you got. Maybe your wife got fucked by another dude and you walked in. I don't know. But I can tell you right now, with a lot of dudes I served with overseas, like this fucking Holly character, like video games are, they're turning to video games and porn. Do you know that's literally all we did in Iraq and Afghanistan? When you weren't out there fucking going toe-to-toe with Terry Taliban, you were back in lifting weights, playing video games, and jerking off. Jenna Jameson was a godsend during the Iraq invasion because I had one of her magazines. It was like I fucking took her everywhere. Like, she helped me relieve a lot of stress. You say what you want about it, but
God
it's the truth.
bless you, Jenna.
God bless you, Jenna.
Wherever you are.
You did the troops a huge service. So, again, and people can look at that and say, these senators like this, and this is the hypocrisy that I think people don't want to acknowledge, but it exists. I guarantee this dude growing up probably watched or looked at a Playboy. Don't tell me you weren't jacking it to like the fucking the bra section of the newspaper or a Playboy when you were a kid. We all did.
It was a lot different back then.
It was. I remember like somebody would like have a Playboy and we'd store it somewhere outside and it would get wet. Like, oh no, the pages are stuck together. It's like, this is boobies. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't get these motherfuckers. They live in this world where
porn nowadays is pretty aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's just like, as soon as we got to 2 girls, 1 cup.
Oh man,
like that really took a turn. Where
I have never seen a video that has made me throw up without me actually sticking my finger down my throat to puke.
Yeah,
like that video, I don't know how
like
people
that kind of stuff.
To each their own though. Like here's the thing,
I'm not saying ban it, but I'm saying like something's not right.
But do you think
do
you think that like
crapping on somebody?
Shizer porn has always been like that was big in Germany when I was there. Shizer porn, yeah, it wasn't 2 girls. That was way before 2 girls. That's the other thing. We talk about things like that.
Called it a Cincinnati chili dog where I came from.
Cleveland Steamer,
Cleveland
little dirty
Steamer.
Sanchez and stuff like that. Absolutely.
I mean,
we should do a show based entirely upon like sexual positions and what they are, just explaining it for the people out
the
there.
old rusty trombone.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, porn is it's super aggressive now. So I mean, you can almost
I think it's
see
always been
some
that way.
points to where like, yeah, if you're watching this stuff on a daily basis and you're continuously putting this stuff into your brain, it's not going to be good for you. It's got to have mental repercussions.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the studies show that it does. Like, don't get me wrong. I agree with the studies.
Yeah.
Like, and this is where conservatives are going to get me wrong. I agree with these
Is it
studies.
better to watch porn or is it better to have sex with your wife?
Who's the wife?
You know what I'm saying? Is it better to play video games or is it better to spend time with your kids?
Now, I get what you're saying, but now we're going into individualistic opinion. And I agree
with you.
Is it
opinion or
100% it's opinion.
I think there's probably statistics out there that could probably back up to why, hey, if you like video games, that's awesome, but you should probably spend at least 95% of your time with your family.
Yeah, I agree.
I think those times of things are important.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you're kind of a shitbag human being if you allow that to happen. I'm not disagreeing with that.
And I think people get addicted to pornography. They get addicted to video,
but that's
to anything.
That's an addictive personality, though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't have to necessarily be. I mean, you could be addicted to pornography and not be an alcoholic, right?
True.
So, I mean.
But I think where my thing is like I just don't agree with banning it or painting it as if maybe pornography is a different scenario, but even just like marijuana or video games and talking about like. I don't even think it's addictive. I really don't. I think it's up to the individual to be able to moderate or use common sense when dealing with certain things. Like,
that's like saying cigarettes aren't addictive.
No, you see, that's proven that nicotine is addictive. So if the same thing could be said in regards to pornography, if there was an addictive trait in there, I could understand that. I don't know enough about that study to actually. Nicotine and pornography are 2 different things.
Okay, so you can be addicted to Facebook. You can be addicted to Instagram. You can be to all these apps. So you're constantly on your phone fucking playing games.
I feel attacked right now. I feel attacked right now.
Right?
No, you're right. Yeah, 100%.
So, it's... you want moderation in everything. Unfortunately, everything that we do now.
But I just don't want the government to come in and regulate it moderate it because that's what communist China does. I think
government should regulate nothing.
I agree.
Like, our government should be super small, where we pay for the police department, fire department, military, the court system, and infrastructure. Fix the roads. Yeah. Other than that, privatize everything else because you'll always have people stand up and do nonprofits. You'll have people that'll take care of the poor. Because who's going to take care of the poor? Someone who really cares about it, or the government who feels like it's a burden, and eventually people they're just going to tax us and take the money and use it for something else. Yeah. So the government should be super duper small.
I agree, and I think the people should just be left alone to choose to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So let me just clarify one more time, because I know boomer conservatives are going to shit their pants all over this one, but that's where I stand. I do believe in God. I do believe in Christ. I believe in a protected sanctity of religion. The government should not be allowed to interfere. I mean, I remember when COVID first hit, you and I were talking, like I made several posts. The government should not be able to come in there and shut down a church from holding religious services during a pandemic. That is against the First Amendment. I don't agree with that. That's another reason why church and state should be separate. That should have no control over that.
As soon as that happened,
I couldn't
every
believe it.
business, every church should have just kept going about their business.
Yeah.
That's how it should have been. As soon as the government saw everybody bend the knee and like freak out over,
They used fear to control,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the best way to control people, is to get them afraid. And you know, these Republicans do the same fucking thing with that.
you know,
It's like, if your kids watch porn, they're gonna turn gay. Like, okay.
Delta variant.
Oh my God, it's the Ligma variant. What's that? Ligma balls, bitch. So again, the separation of church and state protects each religion from being infringed upon at the hands of the government. I agree with that. I do not believe that anybody else, like if Josh is a Catholic and I'm a Jewish person, Josh's religious convictions should not be able to, through legislation, be passed to infringe on my life
There it
based
is.
upon his thing. I don't
There it
agree with
is,
that.
right there.
So it's not even, it's not even really about the pornography or video games. It's what it escalates and eventually leads to. So when these senators basically use these objects as their scapegoats, they're leading people down a very dangerous road, because that's the end goal for many people out there. The liberals are clear on this one. We want certain things banned. Ban it, ban it, ban it. Dave Chappelle should be banned. Ban him from making tranny jokes. What? Ban free speech? What the fuck are you talking about? Ban pornography? Ban video games? Now when even Greg Abbott comes out there and he was in favor of raising the smoking age to 21. Like, what, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
I can enlist at 17, go die for my country, but I can't smoke a cigarette until I'm 21 or even have a drink? Get the fuck out of here. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Common sense needs to come back. And ultimately, I'm going to leave it with this. The root of the problem with all of this that I've just discussed isn't with it being addictive or not addictive. It's the fact that so many people out there want to shrug away from personal responsibility. That's all it is. So you same motherfucking Republicans out there, well, they should just go out there and pull themselves up by the bootstraps. And I agree. But then when it comes to something that you disagree with theologically, it should be banned. It's bad. Ban it. Ban it. It's like, oh, then you're not for freedom. Then you're not for freedom. You can agree with the fact that someone should have the right to do it and then not agree with the action in which they use the right to do it. And people don't have that, like, that step process of thinking. It's just like, you shouldn't be able to say, you know, bad things to people in public. Yes, you should. That's part of free speech. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand on that. You can get mad. You can DM me all you want. I'm not changing my opinion on that. And I really don't fucking care if you don't like it. That's just the way I stand. And then, you know, my beliefs should never be forced on you.
Yeah.
Like my saying, like, I don't agree. There's like places in Europe where there's like pornography on the streets, like on billboards. Like, okay, now that I disagree with. That's not right.
Yeah.
You know, it's all over. I remember seeing it in Greece. I remember seeing it in Germany. There'd be like porn ads, like literally pasted to friggin' street. Like boobs were everywhere.
Those Germans are so wild.
Oh, well, you know, they're actually pretty tame, to tell you the truth.
Really?
But the other thing is, like, they have a very good approach when it comes to alcohol. Like, they don't give a fuck how old you are. Like, I remember when I first got over there when I was 17, I could walk down to a bar and get a beer. They didn't give a shit. They didn't give a fuck. Like, kids are in there drinking. They de-glamorized it. It wasn't a big deal. Because the first thing we do now in America when we're 21 is what? We go drink. I'm going to be 21. I'm going to get fucked up. We create the problem by saying you can't have it. You can't. It's like the Amish with Rumspringa. It's like, yeah, you've got a little time. Go out there and get buck wild. And what do?
We were
They
able
go
to get
out
alcohol like in high school.
Do what?
I said we were able to get
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
people
so
are
there
doing
was-
it anyway. But
right.
you know, and I understand there has to be a cutoff. But to me, the drinking age should be 18.
Yeah, I agree.
18 should be the age that you are tried as an adult. You can join the military. You can die for your country. That's what. Well, people aren't mature enough to drink at 18, but they're mature enough to operate a firearm and deploy overseas, drive tanks, shit like that. Are you fucking
kill
crazy?
people?
Kill people? Like, really? This is where the common sense is like veered away, ladies and gentlemen. And we did it anyway. That's the other part. Like, we did it anyway. Especially in Germany. I was 17. Like, my first in-processing thing in Germany, bomb holder Germany, I got so fucked up my third day there, I had alcohol poisoning. I had to go to the hospital. And I learned a lesson. I was like, you know what? Moderate yourself, bitch. You better go easy. And John learned a lesson. Don't overconsume alcohol as per peer pressure from your buddies wanting you to drink. So, all right. There you have it. And, you know, and people that are going to disagree with me on this one, Yeah, thank you. Somebody said we can't legislate morality. I agree with you. The very same people are talking about like things should be banned they don't like. Then you turn around, you get mad when YouTube does the same thing or Facebook does the same thing. It's like there's just so much hypocrisy in this. And for me, it's just like let people live and let live as long as it's not infringing on the rights of other people. When it infringes on somebody else's right, then there's an issue.
Yeah.
Then I take issue with it. It's like, no, you should not have the ability to infringe on somebody else's right as a result of what you want to do with said freedom. All right, let's move on. I wanted to address that. It made a big deal. I shouldn't say a big deal. It wasn't like this international incident on Instagram, but had a lot of people not understanding what I was trying to say. So it's a little bit easy. And I did it in the stories. I've been shadow banned fucking hard. Like my viewer count has like dropped a lot. But
there's a lot of leftists that went after Josh Hawley too.
Oh yeah, well that's the other thing. Leftists have always wanted to ban video games. They
Well,
basically
know that. I mean,
Columbine High and
like
all
when
that
he's,
shit
when
happened.
he's talking about pornography, there was like a list of.
Oh.
I mean, on the Huffington Post website,
they were like going at him, like saying he was wrong on, or they were actually in support of him.
Sounds like someone got caught watching
oh,
porn.
that's just that's
like,
trolls on the internet. That's just
that one. Who's that one smelly guy from the Lincoln Project that just put up all those racists that helped Youngkin win over in Virginia?
Yeah,
whatever his name was, I can't remember. I don't even care. He's a scumbag.
Liberals, and I remember when God, what was it like Doom? I think Doom was a big one when liberals really wanted to start regulating video games to where they couldn't be violent. But I think as a result, it just turned into a heavier rating system to where they could rate it better, like T for teen, all that shit.
Yeah. But
liberals had called for a lot of was it liberals or was it conservatives? I think it was liberals because it was when like some shootings had happened and video games got brought up and they were trying to they wanted to regulate that even harder.
Grand Theft Auto.
I think that was one of them. Yes,
Yeah.
I think GTA was actually one of them.
Well, there should be, a warning that it's graphic and language. So
yeah. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Grandma doesn't go to the store to get her kid Grand Theft Auto, and he's like 5 years old.
Yeah.
But
I think the result of all those people speaking up was that they said we're going to do a heavier, more in-depth rating scheme to where, because when I was growing up, it was just like rated G, PG, PG-13, and R, and then there was X if you got lucky. Triple X. Yeah, it's rated X. There's boobies in there. Upset. But now it's just like I think it's going even deeper. That's what she said. I forget what it is now, and I don't pay attention. I'm an adult. I fucking do what I want. But yeah, there was a time they wanted to ban and regulate video games because they felt they were too violent.
Yeah,
it's like yes and no. I guess it's like it doesn't make sense because that was also during the time when I think Saving Private Ryan came out, and you literally watch a dude get his face blown off, and it looked really fucking accurate. I'm like, wait a minute. So you want to regulate video games, but you're perfectly fine with Hollywood depicting these scenes, which there's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. It's like, but if it's a result of like the rating is there, it's there. The video game is there, it's there. What's the beef here? Yeah. But if it's because you just want a stricter rating system or a more clarified, I can understand and respect that. But
I was thinking it's a shakedown. They're like, we're gonna regulate this.
Yeah, who's ultimately winning?
Back on my hand.
Well, that's why fucking big CBD businesses are going after Delta 8.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that know this. Like big hemp industry, and I won't have anything to do with a lot of these big fucking hemp companies that are lobbying because a lot of these motherfuckers are no different than Big Pharma. They are no different than Big Pharma because I remember talking about like, I forget who the damn CEO of American Shaman came out and talked about he wanted heavier and stricter regulations. Like, nope, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with that. More regulation kills little business, small business. It doesn't like, and we can get into this in another episode, but a lot of these fucking big people, you can go look at their interviews and shit like that. They're socialists at heart.
Yeah.
They're big government at heart. I don't agree with that. You let the market dictate, you let them choose. Case in point, if John has two shops, or John has a shop, Josh has a shop, and we're for less regulation. I have this bottle of CBD. Josh has this bottle of CBD. Mine is not labeled because, again, in the perfect environment, there is no FDA. Mine's not labeled, but Josh is. Now, if Josh is going to label it, it's got to be accurate. You can't lie. Mm-hmm. Or you do all or nothing. Which one are you more likely to buy? Like, and a lot of people don't realize now that in the CBD industry, the certificates of analysis that we have on our website on shellshockcbd.com, those COAs, like we would get in a lot of trouble if we tried to bribe a company to fake the funk. Like that's a federal jail. Yeah. You can't do that. But we are also, and a lot of people don't know this, we're not required by any law to publish a certificate of analysis. We're not.
We go above and beyond. So,
but
our manufacturer does a COA.
Mm-hmm.
So
we do a COA, yeah,
and then we do our own to make sure that
100%.
Everything is what it says it is.
But by state law, we are not required to publish that certificate of analysis. All we have to, I could literally sell you this bottle, and just I could put whatever I want on it, and you could believe it. And if I'm wrong, you can sue me. But the point being, though, is it's in the consumer's best interest to know that what the product they're buying is legit. So it's either all or nothing to me. And I agree that if we didn't have government regulation to the extreme that it is now, we would have more businesses actually coming into fruition. Like, we have to pay, like, just think about this. Why do we pay the state for a business license? Why?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, if I want to start a business, I have to pay to do that?
You're going to register with the state?
Yeah, what fucking sense does that make? I know for tax purposes and shit like that, don't get me wrong, but some of these things that we're paying, it's like, we're paying taxes out the ass on shit that it's like, what the fuck? Like, this would crush a smaller business. This isn't right.
Because
it's more regulation.
Yeah, you got to pay a fee to file for your business, like LLC or whatever. And then once you do that and you start your business, it's
ridiculous.
It's a system working against you from the very beginning.
100%. And that's when they talk about like 50% of businesses go out of business in the first year. That also contributes to it.
Yeah.
So the very same government that is there to regulate and help you is actually killing you.
Your most expensive employee.
Yes, 100%.
Loudest.
But
like a real troublemaker.
But the point that I wanted to make here, folks, is that, again, it's an unregulated industry. There is no law that says I have to publish a COA, but I'm going to because I want my consumers, I want my customers to have peace of mind that what's on this label is what's in this product, and we're not lying about it. Because if we were, we'd get in some serious federal trouble. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. So when this American Shaman CEO and stuff like that calls for more regulation, no, it's going to kill businesses. That's not what you want. Let the consumer choose for themselves. Again, I don't think that people should be required to put a label on anything. I think a business should be, if I want to poop in a box and say, hey, this is John Burke's poop for $25, I shouldn't have to put an ingredient list. I'm going to because it's in my best interest and that's what my customer wants.
Corn.
There's green beans. There's corn. There's pieces of peanuts. It was a crazy day. But you get what I'm driving at here is that we have more government regulation, which is doing more damage than good. Kind of like the FDA. The FDA saved a lot of lives. They've also ruined a lot of lives as well. Do you remember like a lot of these things like you may be entitled to blah, blah, blah. That's because the FDA approved that fucking drug. So don't sit there and paint out the FDA like it's some kind of god. It's like it's helped a lot. You know how many lawsuits have come as a result of the FDA fuck-ups? The FDA is not perfect. And to trust it implicitly is stupid. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. That's my point. I know that was a lot to unpack. I know we really went down the rabbit hole, but that's where my stance is. I don't like government regulation. I don't like government interventionism, and I do not think that you should regulate morality to an extent, which also brings up the next argument of, okay, well, then what about abortion? What about murder? Are these ideas founded in religious morality or the philosophical question of would we have morality without religion? If there was no religion, would we have morality?
No,
and that's
abortion is another life. Like you can
do what?
Abortion is taking another life,
right?
So it's not just a zygote or a
but
clump of cells.
That's not the argument, though. And I agree with you.
Is it not the argument?
No. The argument for me, though, is saying of what you just said. We both agree that's morally reprehensible, right? But us thinking that way, is that rooted in a religious upbringing, or where did that mindset come from? That's the point that I'm trying to make. Because when people say we shouldn't regulate morality,
I don't think it's a religious. I mean, obviously. Killing somebody is a deadly sin.
But you just said it. But that's based upon your religious upbringing. So if you didn't have religion, let's go back to the dawn of time.
So should stealing be illegal then? I mean,
no. I'm not disagreeing with you. No, I'm not saying that we should. No, please. I'm not a liberal here. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have. No, but it's more philosophical though. Is what I'm driving at here.
Is taking a life wrong?
100%.
Yeah. So if somebody's innocent,
but why do we believe that? Is what I'm trying to drive towards.
Because we're human beings. I mean,
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm talking about. That idea of that murder is wrong, that rape is wrong, that sexualizing children is wrong. I was raised very religious, as were you. No,
yeah.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm saying, say like religion didn't exist. Would we have morality and ethics?
Probably.
There it is. How? How do you know? Like
it's something that's innate that you're born with. So
I don't agree with that.
I think for the most part it is. I mean, because you can be an atheist, right? Mm-hmm. Not believe in God. Not all atheists are bad people. But hold on. But they go out and they probably help somebody.
Let me rephrase this. We exist in a world, in this scenario, that in a world where religion is not there.
Souls.
I'm saying, in my hypothetical, we are both born into a world. And in that world, there is no religion. We have no knowledge of religion. We have no knowledge of what murder, if it's right or wrong. Where then do we receive our guidelines for how we live our life based upon moral conviction? Because the ultimate question is, is morality derived from religion?
Yeah, probably.
You think so?
Yeah.
So if we didn't have a religion, where would we get our morality from?
I just think people are innately, for the most part, good people, and you don't that killing somebody else would be wrong.
But do you think religion is what makes most people good people?
Do you think if there was cavemen back in the day, one of them killed another caveman, do you think you probably felt bad about?
No.
That was just how it was.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I really do. I think back in the olden days, it was literally
Maybe.
survival of the fittest. Honestly, I mean, let's take for example nature. I mean, that's a good point right there. Look at nature. I don't think they have any concept of right or wrong. They're animals. Now, again, we're not animals. I understand that. I mean, we're all mammals, but still, the point being, well, some of us, other of us are persons that chest feed and do weird shit. Like, you're not human beings in my eyes. You're fucking weirdos. You should be in a camp somewhere.
Men who have periods.
Jesus Christ. But it's a very, and the thing is, I don't have an answer to it. Because when people ask me, it's like, well, then if we shouldn't legislate morality, is the abortion argument, and the argument is not even whether abortion's good or bad, it's just saying that is abortion or being anti-abortion founded in morality that is derived from theology?
Well, I think it's just a group of laws that we all kind of agree on that.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that,
yeah, so I wouldn't want anybody to kill my family
but
or
answer
come
my
to my
question,
house.
though. But answer the question. Do you think that abortion and being anti-abortion is rooted in your religious upbringing?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So then, and that's why I feel like a hypocrite sometimes when I say that, yes, I do not think that we should legislate morality, but abortion, in my mind, is that this isn't really legislating morality. It's legislating for pro-human rights, the right to life.
Yeah.
Like, you are taking a life.
So you could
but
be,
even that act
you
in and
could
of
be
itself
an
is founded in
atheist.
religion for me.
You could be an atheist and still be pro-life and think, that woman is carrying another life in her womb. That's how we're all born.
Yeah.
Not one of us is here any other way, unless you were in a petri dish or something crazy like that. But for the most part,
my father was a paratrooper and my mother was a witch. I was conceived in the backseat of a car and born in a ditch. I hang with a wino named Bill. He taught me how to hunt and taught me how to kill. No, it was an old Army cadence we used to say.
Okay.
It's like, what is wrong with
like,
it?
where am I?
But
How long have I been out?
You know where I'm getting. I mean, you know where I'm going with this. Like, it's a very, it's a philosophically based question that I don't have an answer to. But, because when I talk about that, there should be no legislating of morality. The first thing people come back with is abortion. It's like, okay, I see where they're
the
coming
most
from on
manly
that.
thing you can do is
Don't you be toxic on me.
is protecting
Yeah.
that life.
Absolutely.
Because what is more vulnerable than a baby in a womb?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
nothing.
agree with you.
I mean, so
But the point still stands, though, as far as like legislating morality.
That's not. I mean, even having 6 weeks. So Texas having a 6-week abortion law. That's people have a problem with that. It should go back around to, hey, if you want a vasectomy, I'll do a taxpayer. If you want to get your tubes tied, okay, I'll contribute to that. Because if you have a problem, not controlling yourself and wearing a condom and practicing safe sex, going out there and doing that stuff, and let's take out the small
I don't
percentage.
know if I agree with that though, because then
Because right now there's tax money that goes to pay
Yeah,
for
I know.
abortion portion here in America
Yeah.
and across the world.
But it still removes the idea of individual responsibility and accountability, though, because by saying, well, if I can't afford it, if I can't afford to do a sex, or if I can't afford to get a vasectomy or whatever, well, then don't have sex unless you can afford to buy condoms.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
if you can't figure out how condoms work, you shouldn't be having sex anyway. Like if you go out and you're
Yeah.
on your 5th or 6th and that happens.
Oh, yeah, it
I mean that
does.
shit happens
And
all
we
the
all
time.
pay for it.
Like my mom works at a pro-life clinic up in Ohio, and they're right across the street from a what's the other abortion clinic?
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. So I mean they have. They try to get those.
That's
young
like
girls
Home
that come in.
Depot being across from freaking Lowe's.
Yeah, I mean, and there's stories that it's there's places out there that you can go besides Planned Parenthood to get yourself set up. So obviously it's going to be extremely hard if you're 19, 18 years old having a kid, and hopefully you might have somebody to help you out. But I think there's other ways out there when they say Republicans only care about kids.
Yeah, that's
in the
just
womb.
a cop out.
Yeah, that's not true.
I also think that it tends to be more of an argument made as far as personal responsibility. It's like you chose to have sex, and people that instantly hit that back with, well, what about rape and incest? Like that's like the minor 2%.
Yeah.
That's not even a foundation to build an argument on. But the point still stands. If you choose to have sex, unprotected and you get pregnant, that is your fault. Therefore, you must pay for the mistake you made. And I don't view children as mistakes, but it still tends to serve that as long as you have the incentivization of correcting or having the ability to repair a mistake, then they're going to willingly make that mistake. If I know for a fact that I can go out and have unprotected sex, but I can get an abortion, I'm going to continue having unprotected sex, which also contributes to STD spreads and things such as that. So in my mind, it's like I understand the argument that liberals make is like they don't care about them until they're out of the womb. Well, it's not my responsibility to care for. It's your responsibility. You had the sex, you raised the child. You had the unprotected sex, you raised the child. And I even agree with the Plan B. Like I agree with birth control.
Yeah.
Like I don't see that as being abortion. It's like if I have sex with a woman, like we'll go get her a Plan B pill. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that happens, I mean, there's ways to.
Yeah, 100%.
So I mean, that's.
But you do bring up a good point. Is like would you willingly invest in a program that pays for vasectomies and things such that? Because then, because I think more money devoted to things such as that would be way less money being spent on children that are born for parents that can't take care of them. They go on welfare subsidy programs. I think I think if we actually invested in things such as that, there would be a decrease in the welfare system in regards to how many, and then also government payouts for how many kids you have.
Yeah. I mean,
but it still shirks away from the idea of personal responsibility.
Yeah, there's got to be personal responsibility. Yeah. I mean, you're just going to have people that it's just going to happen.
It gives you something to think about.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I think there's more privatized options rather than government intervention.
Go get the
to take care of these. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can agree with that. All right, moving on to the next one. That's a lot of thought-provoking topics right there. Like we really went deep. That's what she said. This just in, OSHA vaccine mandate to hit large employers January 4th with hefty fines for non-compliance. OSHA rule is expected to be immediately challenged in court by Republican states and some business groups, and they should. I don't give a fuck if we have 100 employees. We ain't doing it. It's not gonna. And if OSHA wants to come in and inspect, you better bring a fucking warrant.
If you think it's stopping at 100, you're crazy.
Oh god, no, it's gonna go more.
Yeah,
it'll go more.
It was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Mm-hmm. That was what 18, 19 months ago.
100%. It will go way less. Sorry. It's gonna turn. I guarantee it's gonna. Oh no, now it's 50. Oh now it's 10. It's like no, absolutely not. And then all that's gonna happen is if they say they actually try to come after us, like if you have 5 more employees, well guess what? We're 1099 motherfuckers.
Yep.
I was like, you're gonna work from home.
Yep.
And no, we're not forcing this vaccine. You can go fuck yourself. But no, I don't think it's going to get to that level. I think this is going to be fought in the state. Like Texas will never allow this to happen.
I don't think Texas will. I don't think Florida will.
No. I think this is going to die in Congress, to tell you the truth. I think this will be fought against because here you have states getting flipped. There is, and I'm not one to get on board with these Republicans that are like, oh, we got a red wave coming. I think it's coming. I'm not trying to QAnon this shit, but I think based upon how close New Jersey was. Like how close that election was.
I think they won.
I've got to be very careful with that because again, if I can see proof that there was cheating, then I will say there's cheating.
I'll say I believe there's a constant cheating that goes on. I think there's enough video evidence out there.
In that race specifically?
At any race.
No, I'm talking about Jersey. I'm not talking about. I don't want to generalize. I'm talking about each individual.
I'll talk about
thing.
New Jersey. I'm sure there's evidence out there.
Well, then
I just think Democrats are cheaters. I'm sorry.
Do you really think Republicans don't cheat either? Come on.
If they do, if they don't, they're terrible at it. They're not great.
I think the system is fucked either way, but that's why we need stricter voting laws and things.
Yeah, stricter voting laws. So that's
I have
here
no
in Texas.
faith. Yeah, I have no faith in the system. But
zero.
Again, I can't sit there and say that rigged it. It's like, well, you got to show me the proof. Like, if you can show me the proof, I will agree with you.
I know up in Michigan right now, there's looks like a lawsuit that's going to come out for 25,000 dead people who voted in the 2020 election. Mm-hmm. Is that a lawsuit filed against Michigan for over 25,000 suspected dead registered voters still on their rolls?
Yeah.
Is that cheating?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I agree with you.
What did he lose by?
Cheating, yeah.
So if that happened in Michigan, probably happened in Wisconsin.
But then
what about in Arizona?
But then what about the ones like in Arizona where they said no? There was actually they looked into it. There was like hundreds of these cases that came out. It was like no, there was actually no. These are and then a lot of them were Republican judges. Like there was no proof of fraud.
Every election should be audited.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
it should be open book transparency.
Yeah, even when a Republican wins, they should be audited 100%. We have
one day of voting. It shouldn't go into.
Yes, I agree with you.
2-3 months down the road. Like
it should be. This is the and also the cutoff should not be like 10 o'clock at. Well,
even in Pennsylvania.
Actually, no, I disagree with that because some people don't have access to the ability to vote based upon their job and shit like that. But then again, you have absentee ballots and
Right.
shit like that. So yeah, I can understand. Like it needs to be more refined.
One day,
yeah,
you have early voting.
Yeah.
But even in Pennsylvania, where the Republicans weren't allowed to go in and monitor the vote counting,
and that's bullshit.
that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That in and of itself should be disqualifying.
But they talked about New Jersey though. There were Republicans. Now I'm saying hearsay. This is not confirmed, so don't quote me. But I was told there were Republicans there monitoring the system as well.
Yeah.
I could have that wrong. That's what I was told. I haven't clarified. I haven't looked into it myself. So just keep that
I
in
know
mind.
there was some stuff in Virginia too that they were talking about, like there was something about a memory stick that had to rescan 25,000 votes. Mm-hmm. There was Republican attorneys there.
Why is it on a memory stack? Like that's the other part. It's kind of like I'm going.
Well, I mean, I guess you got to put it on something.
My mind is let's go back to the punch machine. You punch the hole, you put it through the Scantron, and it counts, and that's all there is to it.
I guess.
For me, this whole electric system. And don't get me wrong, I don't think any process you have is going to beat the odds of cheating.
Some level of cheating.
Yeah, but I think you have to go with the safest bet, and I don't think a fully electronic system in today's day and age with all this hacking and shit is the best way to go. It's got to be something physical.
Yeah.
Like even you write your name on a piece of fucking paper and you put it in the blue box. Like even if it went that simple, like I could just I think there definitely has to be a revamping of the election system because there's a lot. Republicans have no faith.
Yeah, well,
and I knew it was going to happen because when we flipped Virginia, I was like, okay, well then for everybody that like if we would have lost Virginia again immediately, they cheated. New Jersey, they cheated. It's like, well, wait a minute. So Virginia won. We flipped Virginia, but New Jersey we didn't. So is it cheating based upon each state? Like that's where I'm confused on this.
I think you have to show up in such mass to win these elections if you're a Republican or a conservative or something other than a Democrat so you can win because you can only stuff the ballot box so much. Yeah. So there's only so many registered voters. Yeah. So that's
Republicans have to get fired up. Like the win in Virginia and stuff like that, I'm telling you, you cannot get complacent. 2022.
You have to show up and draw.
Come 2022, we're going to be doing a lot of freaking things here in Shell Shock to help get people out to go vote. Like I think the system has some issues, but I'm not going to stop voting.
You got to.
You can't stop.
You got to show up. And I think that's why Trump won in 2016. They were so positive that Hillary Clinton was going to win, right?
And he fucking shredded him,
And he had such a great turnout that I think it caught him off guard. Yeah. And that's why they were like, 2020, it's not going to happen
That caught
again.
a lot of people off guard. Like, really, I did not think Trump was going to beat Hillary. Hillary was so loved by the Democratic left.
No, there's a lot of guys out there on YouTube that are political commentators that, they called it. They called it almost, there's a couple guys that I follow on there that they were just had like one or two states off. So
I was filming American Grit when that happened. I was over in Georgia. I stayed up. I forget what I was doing. I stayed awake. I laid on the couch and I was watching. I forget what program I was watching. And then the votes started coming. I woke up and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. They called it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, Trump did it. I was like, holy, because the left loved them some Hillary, but the left is slowly turning on Hillary.
Nobody did. The only people that loved Hillary were
what I thought.
The media.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then to see the Trump turn, I was like, oh, damn. I was like, they really don't like Hillary as much as they claim.
You could just look at his rallies.
Yeah. Even today, even now. Yeah.
My wife watches...
Trump pulls an audience. There is no denying that.
She watches the Real Housewives stuff. So, and then she was watching Andy Cohen, his show after, I don't know, the Real Housewives is over. And he was doing a poll about who people were going to vote for. And every time he did it, because it was a text-in poll, so you could text in, so it was instant. And Trump he won by like 20, 30 points every time. Every time he did this poll, I'm like, that's more accurate than these polls that we have out here right now.
Polls, that's the other question, is like, who's the audience that person has, though? Like, if I was to put up a poll now on my audience, it's going to lean heavily conservative because the liberals don't want to watch me. So therefore, your polling demographic is very one-sided.
Well, Andy Cohen is he's a Democrat. He's a leftist. I mean,
so it was one of his polls?
Yeah.
It came out Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is saying something.
So,
that's saying exactly.
This poll is more accurate than anything else that's out there.
No, I can see that.
Because people were just tired of it. Even a lot of people who were Democrats, they just didn't want to vote. I have a buddy of mine who lived up in Ohio who he's always been a Democrat, but he's like, there's no way I can vote for Hillary. She's terrible. She's a terrible human being. Like everybody.
I had seen something on her Facebook page that now she's selling cups that have a picture of her and says, what about the emails? She is literally making fun of the fact that she broke the law and got away with it.
Yeah.
It's like a slap in the face of every single American out there that has to adhere to this law, especially a federal fucking law, and she got away with it. And now she sells merchandise making fun of that fact. That'd be like OJ selling toy knives.
She did that shit
Like,
on
what?
Between Two Ferns.
Yeah, it was Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, he's like, what's the best way to reach you?
Email. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
It's
him.
funny.
It was funny as fuck. Like, that was great. But she got away with it. And
Yeah.
just like, what the shit?
Okay.
These government officials, there's no laws that apply to them. Like,
Yeah.
none.
That's what's. I mean, to me, that's the most maddening thing right there.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Like,
It's
once you get
fucking
into
ridiculous,
government,
yeah.
you can pretty much do whatever you want, as long as you got a D after your name
Yeah.
for dick or whatever.
So the Occupational Safety and Health Administration is giving employers with more than 100 employees a January 4th deadline to comply with President Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandates. The OSHA rule is expected to be immediately challenged in court by Republican states. Separate from OSHA, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is issuing a rule to require healthcare workers in facilities participating in Medicare and Medicaid to be fully vaccinated. The CSM rule will also go into effect January 4th and cover more than 17 million workers in approximately 76,000 healthcare facilities nationwide. This is going to cause mass walkouts, as it should, and it will. These people, they're already doing it. There's like, I think Boeing has strikes. The airline industries are having strikes now. It's growing. The MSM isn't going to cover it. They're not going to cover it hardcore, especially on the CNN. They won't touch it. They don't want people seeing that they have power in numbers. They don't want people seeing that people are actually walking out. Like my buddy, I talked about this before. My buddy was he's a cop, and he was flying to a conference. He's like, dude, I've been in the airport for 9 fucking hours. And it was in DFW. He's like, the airlines are so backlogged right now. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's bad. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that. They're not reporting that. They're not reporting that.
Being stuck at the airport is
Fuck that.
It's miserable.
Oh yeah, it is. I can't. Yeah.
Let me go get another $6 water.
This comes in. Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer that was murdered by Alec Baldwin, family retains legal counsel, will reportedly file wrongful death lawsuit. That's right. You sue his ass.
Yep.
You sue his ass. That's what I'm talking about. Hutchins was killed in a shooting. We all know this. Helena Hutchins' husband has retained legal representation, reportedly plans to file a wrongful death suit following the accidental shooting. Hutchins was killed in this... Meanwhile, a representative for Hutchins' family confirmed to Fox News on Wednesday that her husband, Matt, was retained the legal counsel of Panish Shea Boyle Revipudi, with Brian Panish acting as lead lawyer. The statement noted that the lawyer did not plan to issue any official statement at this time regarding what their plans are in terms of any kind of legal case. However, the group's website notes that they specialize in personal injury and wrongful death suits. Matt is a lawyer himself. Reuters reports that he works in corporate law out of L.A., office of Latham & Watkins. He also has a background in entertainment law. So, looks like Alec Baldwin about to get hit with some fines. I hope he does. I hope he goes to jail.
He deserves
it. He should, yeah. 100% should.
He deserves it.
We have Representative Mo Brooks introducing one-sentence measure to block federal vaccine mandates. This ain't gonna happen. Brilliant strategy. It's not gonna fucking happen. And listen, this is actually really cool. I like where this guy's head's at, but it's not gonna make it past the House. Representative Mo Brooks is introducing a measure on Thursday to stop President Joe Biden's coercive coronavirus vaccine mandate, prohibiting the government from using federal funds to establish, implement, and enforce any vaccine mandate. Brooks's legislation to defund Federal Vaccine Mandate Act, or the Defund Federal Vaccine Mandate Act, is a one-sentence bill which simply states that, and I quote, no federal funds may be used to establish, implement, or enforce any vaccine mandate, end quote. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fucking brilliant. But it'll never get voted in. I mean, it's a great idea. And it makes sense to me. It's like, why are we using taxpayer money to ensure that these vaccine mandates that are unconstitutional are enforced on the people? This is the legal way of trying to fight.
Find people and squeeze more money out of us.
Exactly. So I like it, but again, it ain't gonna.
Yeah.
That shit ain't gonna make it. Absolutely not.
Keep going. Keep up the fight, Mo.
Yeah. Hey, it's a good. I mean, maybe it does. Who knows? I mean, in this day and age now, we have a lot of senators like Sinema and the rest of them. Like, they're drawing massive fire. And it's like, I got a lot of respect for these people. I don't agree with them, but I have respect that they're sticking to their guns on this one.
Anybody with a brain should be able to realize that a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill is the most ridiculous thing that you could possibly do at this point in the history of America.
But they don't care, though, because they think it doesn't affect them directly. But we talk about all these things. It impacts so much. But people live in a 3-foot bubble, and unless it hits them in that 3-foot bubble, they don't give a fuck. And that's the problem.
It's because they think,
it's not my money. Yeah, it kind of is. It's going to impact your money eventually.
Yeah.
So, all right, last thing we've got. Good old Colin Kaepernick is back in the news. Good old Colin boy. Apparently he's got a Netflix special, and Mr. freaking reparations himself, Mr. Poor Kaepernick, he's had such a rough life. Such a rough life. Black kid adopted by white parents, makes it big, very rich, wealthy.
Went to college.
Well, now, in his newly released Netflix special, he basically references and says that the NFL draft is akin to slavery. And here's what we at the Shell Shock Studio have to say about that.
Day is never finished. Master got me working. Someday Master set me free. Dude, shut up, Cartman.
Colin Kaepernick needs to shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up, dude. He sits there, and he says, in his new coming-of-age Netflix series, Colin in Black and White, former NFL quarterback turned civil rights activist Colin Kaepernick is running deep in controversy, this time by equating professional football's draft process with modern-day slavery. I'm not lying about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Colin Kaepernick. This is your martyr. This is your God King BLM leader. You follow a retard. Good job. Good job. That's so, yeah, absolutely. And listen to what he says. This guy, he grows out his fro. Now he's dressed in all black. Fucking black power. Black man.
Cartoonishly.
This guy
large.
is trying to prop himself up as the modern day Martin Luther King. He's a fucking charlatan. This guy sits there, like we talked with Tommy yesterday, and he endorses these companies that utilize child slave labor out of China. Shut the fuck up, you fucking hypocrite. I love it. As the first episode opens, a flurry of football players portrayed by black actors are seen charging across the field in front of a white coaches.
You know who goes to the game?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to the fucking game.
Everyone.
How come there's not more black coaches? Well, then let's look at this from a statistical point. Again, there's only 13-14% of the people in America are black. Naturally, there's going to be less representation, less black. Well, they should have equal opportunity. You do. What the fuck are you talking about? You can become a coach. It's there.
I think it's part of the NFL law now.
Yes.
You have to interview a coach of a different race.
Yep.
So there's...
And so Kaepernick says, what they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic. Kaepernick, dressed all in black, says, before they put you on the field, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. He continues, no boundary respect, no dignity left intact. All right, douchebag, let me explain this to you, okay? Because you're kind of fucking retarded. You need a white guy like me to explain it to you, because I know you racist black people don't want to hear this from a white guy. But let me break this down for you real quick. Okay, if I, as a team owner, am going to hire you, a player. I'm going to hire you, and you're going to come play for me, and I'm going to pay you millions of dollars. You are fucking right. I'm going to make sure that you are 100% healthy, because that impacts me and my money and my wins to put people in the seats and fans to come watch. So you're goddamn right I'm going to make sure that you don't have something that's going to prohibit you from fucking playing. If I'm going to sign you for millions of fucking dollars, I want to make sure that the product I'm getting, you are a product. No dignity, respect. Fuck your dignity and respect. What the fuck are you talking? You're making millions, bro. You're making millions. People would kill to be in your position. How fucking elitist, how big of a snob do you have to be to sit there and say, there's no respect? Really, dude? Are you serious? Are you are you walking across? Get on over there. Yes, Massey. Shut the fuck up, dude. You don't know what the fuck you're saying. You sit there and you cop this bullshit to try and further divide, and now you're going after the NFL. Oh, by the way, if the NFL is such a fucking horrible slave trade thing, why the fuck are you trying out for it again? Why were you trying to go back to it? Last I checked, slaves that were, I want to be free, didn't say, you know what, just kidding, put me back in chains. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? You have no clue what you're saying. You are that fucking retarded, and so are your black followers that think that you are the next best thing because you're speaking up for them. No, you're not. You're enslaving them into the mindset that you have that they're victims, and they're not. You are doing more disservice to black people in this country than anything else out there because you're promoting this idea that you are a victim. Therefore, you have no responsibility. Everything is somebody else's fault, aka the white man. Fuck you and your movement. You're full of shit and you're a racist. That's all there is to it. And then he says, but they put you on the field. Teams poke and prod and examine you, search for any defects. The scene transitions to an open market in America's slavery. Oh, God, here we go. Here we go. Why don't you do black racism? Why don't you do black slavery? How about that, Colin? Why is it just what about the black slave trade in Africa that still exists, by the way?
Yeah.
What you're not going to talk about that? Or oh no, it's just in America, right? Because you had such a rough go of it with white parents. Please, what a fucking idiot, Josh. Do me a favor. How much was Colin Kaepernick paid? How much was this? What was his slave name? What was Kaepernick's slave name? I need to know.
Let me see.
What was your slave name, Kaepernick?
It was
versus your free man. What was your slave name? I know what it is. Benjamin's, because that's what you got fucking paid, you douchebag.
Let's see. He got paid handsomely. He was his salary was $24,668,766 a year. And he got a signing bonus of $14,555,530, and then roster bonus of just $3.2 million. His total earnings as a slave was $43,479,000. Last
I checked, during the slave days, outside of like sharecropping when it was a really unfair disadvantage, you didn't get paid. It was indentured servitude. What are you talking about? You're getting like sign me up for that slavery. It's like, hey John, we're gonna poke and prod you. You get to spread out. Like we could say the same thing equates to joining the military. Because guess what you got to do at the dot? You got to bend over and spread your butthole because I got to make sure you got no fucking hemorrhoids. Ooh. Oh, I guess that's slavery. They poke and prod you. Is that slavery, Colin? You fucking idiot. Like, you people are so fucking brainwashed that follow this clown.
Yeah.
Like, you really are. Like, you really believe this dipshit, this black mouthpiece of racism, his career was failing. And then he used police brutality to get out there. He's like, you know what? And maybe he wanted to protest for just reasons, and then it escalated. And then he wanted to become the Martin Luther King Jr., and black people and white liberals ate this shit up. Oh, my God. Now, even on The View, they're saying, like, wait, what? Like, bro, you serious? Now you're seeing this idiot for what he truly is, and I love it. I love it. I love that these morons, the more that you like, no, talk more. Encourage it. Say more, Colin, because you're so fucking stupid. You're eventually going to make your mind known, and people are going to see you for the fucking retard that you are. It's the truth. This guy's no slave. To sit there and equate the NFL slave trade, like, slaves didn't get paid $25 million, Colin.
So
what are you talking about?
So he's 34. He started doing this when? Like 2013?
Yeah, like a while ago, yeah.
Yeah. I think he just had some people around him that were pushing him in that direction.
He's a fuck. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then he hooks up with a Muslim chick, and then she starts spouting off his Muslimite. You see this guy so manipulated. He's like the young preppy black kid that grew up in a white neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then he gets in with like the black people that are kind of like, oh, we're fucking oppressed, fucking whitey, blah blah. And that's what Colin Kaepernick is now transitioning into. He's getting around black racists, is all the black supremacists is what this is. That's all it's rooted in.
Yeah, I'm not taking any advice from a 22, 24, 25-year-old millionaire.
Absolutely.
Who really hasn't experienced life.
Colin Kaepernick's
and has been
slave
coddled
name was Benjamin.
probably since they were in high school. Because athletes in high school, they're taken care of. Even when you get to college, you're taken care of. You
and I don't
get
even
treated
want to hear
differently.
This bullshit of like the microaggressions he went through growing up. I went through the same shit in the Army from black first sergeant. You're okay, bro.
Yeah,
I had a racist black first sergeant and sergeant major. They made that very clear. And my career was penalized as a result. Like, bro, stop. You're not the only one. And for me as a white man to say that, nobody's gonna believe me. Talk about equality right there. Nobody's gonna believe me. His name was William Stanton. He was a piece of shit. I have a lot of witnesses. There's a lot of other white witnesses. This dude was a fucking racist and got away with it. I'm sorry, black people, minorities. You don't own the monopoly on discrimination and racist. No, you don't. You really don't. And I know you don't like hearing that because then it strips away the power dynamic from you. You don't own something. Sorry. But guess what? Racism exists across the board from every single type of people out there. Every single fucking ethnicity out there has it.
Yeah.
You don't get to own it. I'm sorry. I know that you don't like hearing that, but this whitey, that's just the way it works. And it's been proven. So, Colin, your slave name was Benjamin's. You're getting paid millions of fucking dollars to play a game.
Yeah, it's
to play a fucking game.
Most kids dream of that opportunity.
It's not like you were going to war. Like, my God, like, I would love to be paid that much money to, hey, we're going to go fight overseas. Like, how much? Like, $25 million. Okay. Like, did you want to stick it up my ass or just want to look at I don't fucking care. Like, $25 million? Let's do this. I'm a complete slut for $25 million. This fucking douchebag. I mean, come on. What a fucking joke. What a joke. It's a game that kids play, and you're getting paid millions of dollars, and you get taken care of.
Yeah.
You get the best fucking facilities.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. You have access to things that I could only dream about.
First class treatment.
Oh, bro.
Anywhere you go.
Anywhere you go, you're flying first. You have private jets. You get your own training. Like, get
Yep.
the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's like slavery. It's very easy. You know what he's doing? He's trying to take certain little characteristics about the process and likening it to other certain characteristics of slavery, which you can do that with anything. You could do that with literally, I can find certain things about, the way this process works and say, well, slavery was slightly similar. Well, yeah, you can do that with anything. You can do the same thing in the military. You can do anything with, like, if you're going through a job interview. I'm going to sit there. So you're going to sit down. You're going to treat me with respect. You're going to call me sir. You're going to be respectful because I'm going to pay you to work for me. And then I'm going to look at your resume and I'm going to look at your experience. Like, okay, well, do you have the qualifications I need? You can almost say that's similar to slavery because now there's a power dynamic. By his thing, there's a power dynamic. And if there's a power dynamic, it's akin to slavery. Mm-hmm. There's always a power dynamic. And you types of fucking communists at heart don't like that. You don't like having to answer to somebody. Well, here's the thing. You don't. Just don't go to work. Or start your own business and be your own boss. That's the beauty of capitalism. And guess what? It's not slavery. It ain't. It ain't. I know I'm busting a lot of racist bubbles out there. I know you don't like hearing them, especially from a white dude like me. But that's just the way it works. Sorry. Sorry, racist people. Sorry, supremacists.
Yeah.
You don't get to own it. Not anymore. Sorry.
And just for the record, racism is bad.
Oh,
Judging
yeah,
anybody
absolutely.
by the color of
it's
their
fucking
skin
stupid. Absolutely.
is terrible.
Yeah. We just lost your camera. We got to buy the power cord.
It's gonna be
We're at the end of the show anyway. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm not condoning racism, but I am saying, like, don't sit there and try and use racism as your club.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that pisses me off.
Talk about it.
Like Colin Kaepernick you want to talk about like white privilege? Let's talk about black privilege. By virtue of your skin color, you're now getting deals with all these companies to endorse you because of the message you're pushing, only because you're black.
Look at the tweet we just read the other day about the what's the guy? I can't remember what his fucking name is, but he's a blue check mark on Twitter saying a majority of these white students claimed to be a different race.
Oh, yeah.
And they got in to schools because they were
a minority. So exactly. So where's the white privilege there?
Like, of course, that tweet is gone now.
Oh, did he delete it?
Yeah.
Oh, go figure.
Of course, but he already put it out there. So
and it's very true.
It's true.
Elizabeth Warren's done it. So many people is like, oh no, it's
that was
cool.
back in the 70s.
It's hip to be a minority now. So, and therefore, if white privilege exists and it's going to get me by virtue of my skin color better opportunities, well, that's not true anymore. Therefore, white privilege doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or we could just call it what it is, racism. If you want to hire someone specifically because of their skin color, that's racism. That's the wrong thing. I want to hire somebody based upon their ability to perform in a job. Ergo, I'm going to have to interview them. And if they're going to come play a sport for me, I'm going to send them to the doctor to go get a physical. Because guess what you have to do when you join high school football? You got to go get a physical. Yeah. Is that racist? No. And you ain't even getting paid either. So this millionaire that's getting paid to go do this, like, just stop. Just fucking stop, you clown.
Douchebag.
What an idiot. And again, everybody wants to be a victim. He's gonna get worse. He's gonna get so much fucking worse. And eventually, it's already a very subtle way of pushing black supremacy is all this is. It's using slavery in the past actions to try and push this idea of like, oh, we're victims, which ultimately curtails into black supremacy. Where it's like, well, white people did this, so therefore they should be made to pay reparations. I'm not paying you a goddamn thing. How dare you try and use a horrible situation that happened in the earlier days of America as if you were impacted by it anyway in regards to like the physical realm. Like you weren't. You were never a slave. Your mother was never a slave. She was white, for crying out fucking loud. I guarantee you probably don't even know who your ancestors are. Like, don't sit there and pound your drum about how fucking unfair life was. I've seen it with the Native American people. Like, oh, we were here first. No, you weren't. You migrated, and then you got your asses fucking kicked. I don't want to hear it. Like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing this fairness thing you try and push. So, and again, these same people out there, like, they don't give a fuck about China, what they're doing, or Russia. They could easily come over here and invade and just whoop the fuck out of us. Like, well, that's not fair. And then the Russians going to put a gun in your mouth, fucking blow your head out, and then it doesn't even matter. That's how stupid you are.
Well, then you're dead.
Then you're dead. Yeah.
And then now what?
Oh, my God. We should end this on a good note.
Shell Shock CBD.
Shell Shock CBD.
It's amazing. You're going to love it.
You're going to like the way you feel. I guarantee it. Check us out at shellshockcbd.com. This episode will be brought to you by shellshockcbd.com, and it's going to be uploaded on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud immediately following the stream. It's going to be deleted on my main YouTube channel, but it will remain on the backup YouTube channel. You can see it there. Type in All American Savage Show. You'll see it. You can follow it. You can watch the show, the video format of the show there. You can see what we're looking at on the screen. Greatly appreciate all the love and support we've received from everybody out there. If you like what you hear, shout us out on social media. Share the podcast. That helps out a lot. And also, we have just launched, I don't know where it's at. We've launched a CBD beard oil. It is now live. We had Tipsies & Co. Unfortunately, we had to pull that one. It wasn't doing so well. We reformulated some of the products, and the COAs are available. Now we have a beard oil, and I use it on my mustache. We have citrus and some other scents. It has 200 milligrams of CBD, which is also great for hair and skin. And it is mixed with a beard oil, so you can put it in your beard, smell good, and it's great for your skin and hair. That is now available on shellshockcbd.com. I don't remember the price point. Actually, why don't I just fucking pull it up for people to see? I could probably just do that. That's the whole reason why we got 2 damn monitors in the first place. So really excited to launch this product. We have the beard wash. We have a lot of stuff here. Where's it at? CBD oil, CBD beard care. Here it is right here. Boom. Where's it at?
It's the oil is $19.99.
$19.99. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like all the products across the board are $19.99. So the balm, the beard balm, the beard oil, and the beard wash. These products are they're great, so amazing.
They have CBD in them. We have the beard balm. It's $20. It's got 200 milligrams of CBD. We've got beard oil, which is $20. That's got 2. So they all have 200 milligrams of CBD. It's great. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Again, here is the link if you want to go check it out. shellshockcbd.com. There's the link. Again, these are amazing products. So greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the podcast. And again, there is the link, shellshockcbd.com. And I forget how many cents do we have? There you go. 1 second. There we go. You can get a subscription and save 10%, or you can do a one-time purchase. And is it just that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So that one is is it the citrus? I think it's the citrus.
Vintage.
Yeah. But there you have it. You can see it right there in the podcast. It's really good. I use it on my mustache. It's good. So, all right. I love you. I appreciate you. We'll be back on Twitch in 6 days, roughly, after the suspension is over. But in the meantime, we'll be live on YouTube and Facebook. So until then, anything to add, Josh?
We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. And as always,